Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I'm Mr Fayaz Ahmad kuchay from Baramulla. I am being posted at Ashpura High Secondary, Kubara. Today, my topic is types of semiconductors for 11th class. Dear students, I discussed previously what the semiconductors are, of which material they are made. I discussed semiconductor diode. How does it work? What is it made of? What is it made of? I discussed lastly, and I discussed that the diode has a function which which maintains the flow of current in one direction, particular direction only. When we have got in particular in some circuits, we wish to convert AC into DC, AC, I mean alternating current into direct current. We may have to convert this current into direct current. We make use of semiconductor diodes, because that is the conduct, and that is uh, semiconductor diode which makes current to flow in one particular direction only, in direct current flow. So this was the main function of this semiconductor diode which I discussed lastly. Today I have to discuss types of semiconductors. There are only two types of semiconductors. Number one is intrinsic semiconductor, and number two is extrinsic semiconductor. I may make it clear that types of semiconductor diode, semiconductor, these are usually being asked in the examination point of view. Usually being asked. This may be asked this year also. What are the different types of semiconductors? So that's why I'm discussing the same topic here, types of semiconductors. There are two types of semiconductor, intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductors are semiconductor devices such as diodes and transistors are made up. These are semiconductor devices. I have told already to you that semiconductor diode, it is made up of, it's called semiconductor diode because the diode itself is made up of semiconductor material, that is silicon or germanium. These are two semiconductor materials of which these devices are made. Semiconductor diode, it's being made of silicon and germanium. Same thing we are discussing here. Semiconductor devices such as diodes and transistors are made up of single crystal of semiconductor materials such as germanium or silicon, which I have told you already in previous lecture also, that these things, transistors and diodes, are being made up of germanium and silicon semiconductor materials. To make a semiconductor device, a sample of purest form of semiconductor, simplest purest form of semiconductor is a type of simple purest form of semiconductors material, purest form material. The material is being purest form, that's why it's known as intrinsic semiconductors. The purest form of semiconductors is telling that there is 100 million, there is not a there the is a semiconductor is not truly intrinsic unless its impurity content is less than 1 part impurity in 100 million parts of semiconductor. It means 100 million parts of semiconductor, it doesn't have a single parts from 100 million parts an impure material, but it is a 100% pure material of semiconductors. That's why it's known as intrinsic semiconductors. So the phenomenon of conduction of current flowing through it, the phenomenon of current flowing through this semiconductor, what we require to understand it, the phenomenon of conduction of current in semiconductors, it is necessary to study crystalline structures of semiconductors. Mm, we are we are we are compelled to go through crystalline structure of semiconductor devices so as to know the conduction of current, flow of current in such semiconductor devices, so that crystalline, that study of crystalline structure I will discuss in the next topic. This was this was the topic for today, only the types of semiconductors, and previously I discussed semiconductor diodes. I will again tell you the types of semiconductor. There are two types of semiconductor: intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductor, this is the purest form of semiconductors. It is made up of silicon or germanium. Silicon or germanium, which I have already told you lastly. So to know the conduction of current through this type of semiconductor device, it's important to know the to go through the crystalline structure of semiconductors. That will be done in the next lecture. That was the lecture for today. Okay, assalam.